Here's a video I didn't quite think I'd ever make, but clearly a lot of you wanted it, so a year later, here it is. There we go. We're gonna be taking a look at this thing, once again. I really think a lot of people misinterpreted what I said in some of the parts of the video last year, and surely a year later I'll have a lot more to say, right? Let's see. And don't worry, I will look back at some of the comments and try to answer your questions, but in case you didn't even watch that video, let's take a product tour, shall we? So the heart and soul of this product is the single back piece that is only attached to the backpack by these two brackets here, which allow for some adjustment. The big circular knob here is a sort of outer coil device with adjustable damper, which can only tighten unless you release this one lever right here. You can also loosen the unit rather quickly by holding the lever release and pulling on the support cord, or whatever's attached to it. Moving towards the top, you'll find the second part of the system, this detachable neck piece that extends over your head and brings the dampening self-retracting cord to the front. It attaches to the main back piece with two eye bolts. That could very well be the more traditional wing nut design that we see everywhere, and it's frankly better in every single way for this use case, but I guess this was cheaper? Maybe? In any case, at the end of the neck we have another adjustable part, this time controlling how far away from you the cord is falling, and this can be quite useful to help you balance your rig. Speaking of which, at the end of the cord, you'll find this spring-loaded, hand-tightable, screw-lockable hook system that I would describe as meh, good enough. And frankly, that's being generous. Staying on the front, but moving down, you'll find two adjustable clip buckles, a smaller one for the chest area, and a larger one for the abdomen. I'm a fairly big-chested person, but I noticed that the straps on this area could be a little tighter. Meanwhile, the bottom ones do not suffer from a range problem, at least not for someone of my build, but it also seems to have a extremely thin setting. However, the squishy variable nature of this part of our bodies does make over-tightening it feel restrictive, while leaving it loose can cause other problems, but more on this later. These two straps are connected vertically by an adjustable strap on the side, and these two extended gas springs maybe were put there to provide tension to this lower section, but unfortunately they do no such thing, and at this point I feel like they're more so function theater. Finally, we have the back panel. This breathable nylon mesh has some less breathable padding inside. At best, it's a 1/4 inch thick piece of styrofoam-like material, you know, the one they use for shipping. Here, wait, I think like this. It's like cheap and thin. To make things worse, the brackets we talked about in the beginning are only attached by a bar that's inside the backpack. It's not very wide, but it does go all the way across. The rigid nature of this, combined with the small surface area, result in stress points when your setup has some weight to it. In all fairness, I'm also not sure how they could have gone around this. A larger area to spread the load would have helped, but a solid back piece would also restrict your movement. Our bags are not perfectly planar after all. I guess they could have combined that with more padding, some that was made to conform to our body, but no, impossible at this price point. And like, have you seen how expensive that styrofoam is? At this point, I hope you realize that their adjustment was for relative height to the hook over your head. And if you did, I must say congratulations for being more observant than me, as I completely oversaw this or probably just forgot about it, only stopping to examine it to prepare for this video. You see, I've had this for over a year now, and my experience with this has been less than stellar. Part of that was my own self-discovery, where I found that I avoid handheld shooting as much as possible, regardless of the situation or the setting. I realized that closing myself off to a shooting style like that is very detrimental to my own creativity and my work in general, so it's something I want to work more on going forward. But that's not the point. Part of the hesitation was because the times that I've used this, I find it very restrictive. Sure, it's a lot better than not having it at all when it comes to fatigue, but walking shots I would argue are harder, unless you're on a gimbal. By the way, I know this is not a stabilizer. That's not quite what I said before. I did not consider this a stabilizer, it's a support system. Last time I included a test on how much more stable your footage can be due to the added support. I mean, we always talk about ways to hold the camera in specific and intricate ways to add support and steady our footage. Meaning that when this unit's completely unbalanced tension ends up pulling the camera up as you take a step, or provides little to no support when you decide to loosen it, I would very much call that bad support. Like a friend that tries to hold the camera as you walk. I haven't tried this, but I imagine it's a similar kind of awful. even though it was well intentioned. Now, some of this might sound like an exaggeration, and partly it is. There's a lot of settings that, when adjusted correctly, make the experience much better. I mean, we just went over all the little adjustments you can make, and there's a lot, which generally is a really good thing on products you want to have flexibility, right? The short answer is if done correctly. You see, one of the most annoying quirks when using this unit was that the arm was too close to my head, resulting in the hook system swinging right in front of my face. The attachment hook, by the way, has a big adjustable range for all kinds of thick handles, but it's not that grippy, and if your rig is not well balanced, it could slip out. I also mentioned this earlier, but for most setups, I find that it was always either too tight, or it required a lot of effort to lower the camera, or it would be too loose and the cord would not retract in any meaningful manner. Speaking of which, the detachable neck is great for transporting and storage, but when you pull down on it, the neck cracks and makes noise. It's not that significant, but if you were filming, let's say, a suspenseful silent part, yeah, it might ruin it. And this too tight or not tight enough issue is something that I am convinced the original EasyRig does not have. Please? Just based on footage from others using it. Alright, let's see, I complained about the chest strap. Oh, that's right. Remember how I mentioned that the bottom strap can make things restrictive? Well, if you don't over tighten it, you can create a fulcrum point on the top strap when pulling the camera down. The bottom of the backpack would lift off, and this would only accentuate every problem we talked about, including the one making the top area a bigger pressure point and way more uncomfortable. But surely all of these things can be adjusted to, right? I mean, it has plenty of adjustments that should fix a lot of the issues I mentioned. So it's good, right? Right? Maybe my setups are just too heavy. But this is the point I alluded to earlier. It does have all the adjustment points that you could fix most of these issues, but they're not good. I wish I could tell you that adjusting this is difficult, but once you do, you're all set. But the truth is, adjusting this is hard and time consuming. And once you do, everything just sort of slips and moves around. It's good that it's adjustable, but it might as well be more solidly built with less adjustments. Even then, there's still some things that wouldn't get fixed. Try as I might, I just can't bring myself to recommend this. There are some of you that only shoot very occasionally and can find good use in this. You really have to think of it as a tool that can transfer the discomfort from your arms to your back. Equally painful, just in a different area. And I guess your handheld shots are better for it. But here's where I struggle with this decision. A lot of people asked about the more expensive Flycam branded one in the last video, and I was aware of it at the time. I even came into this video expecting to recommend that one with a little caution. Like, well, if you needed the very minimum, consider the Flycam. The price difference isn't that large, but I bet the quality is a little bit better. However, after a little more research, and without having actually used one, I can't do that either. The Flycam doesn't even have this adjustable tension, which I know I just criticized this for having too many options, but I really doubt they nailed those settings on the only slightly more expensive model. And the problem with not recommending either is that I really feel like there's a need for a support unit at this price point for people that shoot casually and don't want to spend more than what their rig is worth on a support system. I mean, if you're still filming your kid, buying the original one would be a good investment that will probably outlast most of your rigs. But some people will just never expend that much on a camera, period. And for those people, the best advice I can give you is try to shoot lighter. Take as much weight as you can from the camera. And if that's still not enough, well, try renting one of these. And if you're okay with how it feels, I guess it might not be the worst investment ever. Speaking of renting, I actually didn't expect to do this right now, but it seems quite appropriate now. Recently I had to rent an extra camera for a gig, and because I am the way I am, I wanted nothing less than the Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, something that most rental houses don't carry yet. However, I did get to use it, thanks to ShareGrid. If you're not familiar, ShareGrid is a peer-to-peer renting service, like Airbnb but for camera equipment. Prices are also really competitive, and the people seem to be quite flexible. I was skeptical at first, but I had a fantastic experience renting from 2 different users. I got the equipment I wanted, and I saved at least $150 compared to comparable equipment from traditional rental houses. Also, if you have a ton of equipment you don't use as much, you can list it there and make some extra money on the side. I personally wouldn't. That's quite a bit of money I'm saying no to. So if you want to give it a try, go check it out. I have a link in the description below, or go to nvpro.co/sharegrid and use my referral code, Neverland Productions. It's not an affiliate deal. It's just a regular referral program they have for everyone. And if you do use it, you'll be supporting this channel and allowing me to have the opportunity to have access to more equipment and gear that I can make reviews on and make more videos. And you get $20 off your first rental. What? Crazy. If you're already on it, let me know what your ShareGrid experiences have been and your opinion on this thing. Thank you so much for watching. This was a long time coming. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Give it a like if you did, subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys next week. Maybe.